The mind of a warrior is like a blade forged in fire and quenched in silence. It is honed not by distraction, not by haste, but by relentless presence. In the age of the samurai, focus was sacred. Every breath, every movement, every glance was a test, a training in the art of Zanshin, the awareness that never rests.
Yeah.
Bushido demanded loyalty, courage, and honor. Musashi taught that mastery emerges when the mind, body, and spirit flow as one. Yet the greatest lesson of all was rarely spoken. Discipline without insight is empty. Courage without control is reckless. Strength without stillness is fragile. This story follows Hiro, a young samurai plagued by restlessness, whose mind jumps from task to task, from ambition to distraction. His mentor, Master Ren, sees the storm within him, a warrior of potential, yet chained by ego and fear. Through rigorous training in ancient samurai codes, Hiro will learn what the swords alone cannot teach: how to cultivate a spirit unshakable, a focus unbreakable, a presence that commands every moment. This is the path no one writes about, a path of silence, of repetition, of inner trials. And only those who endure its harsh lessons discover the unyielding center inside themselves, where mastery, clarity, and true power reside. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and share, so I can keep bringing you great content. Chapter 1. The restless blade the morning mist clung to the mountain path like a living veil, wrapping the world in a soft, secretive silence. Hiro's boots crunched against gravel, each step punctuating the impatience that had driven him to this secluded dojo. He was strong, fast, trained in every conventional art of the sword, but the restlessness inside him had followed every victory, every duel, every accolade. No triumph had ever quelled the storm in his mind. The dojo appeared ahead, framed by cedar trees and carved stone lanterns. The wooden gate seemed to breathe, ancient and eternal. Hiro's heart raced, not with fear, but with expectation. He had come to prove himself, to sharpen his skill, and emerge a warrior without peer. Master Ren stood at the threshold, tall and still, his presence a calm that contrasted sharply with Hiro's frenetic energy. The old man's eyes, dark and unflinching, pierced straight into Hiro's restless spirit. "You have come to become strong," Ren said, his voice low but cutting through the morning air like a blade. "Yet strength alone will not still the mind." Hiro bowed quickly, hiding the irritation that stung him. "Master, I have trained tirelessly. I am ready." Ren studied him for a long silence. "You are skilled, yes, but skill without presence is like a sword without a hand. Today, you will begin to learn Zanshin, the perpetual awareness that governs every movement, every breath, every intention." Hiro followed him into the courtyard, the wooden floorboards echoing beneath their feet. Rows of training dummies stood silently, shadows stretching long in the morning light. Ren motioned for Hiro to kneel. "Sit, observe, feel the air, the space yourself." Hiro's instincts screamed to act, to draw his sword, to strike, to move. Instead, he sank to the floor, cross-legged, chest tight, mind already rebelling. Thoughts raced. His father's expectations, rival warriors' taunts, failures past, and imagined future. Ren's eyes never wavered. Stillness is not the absence of action. It is the mastery of attention. It's the mastery of it. Do not flee from your own mind, Hiro. Anchor yourself, or it will destroy you from within. Minutes stretched into hours. Hiro's muscles ached from immobility. His breathing was uneven. Frustration, guilt, and anger collided in his chest. The sword in his mind burned with impatience. Every fiber of his body demanded movement, yet Ren remained unyielding. "You resist," Ren observed, and not because this is difficult, but because you fear what you will discover. Hiro's hands clenched into fists. "I am ready," he shouted, though the sound seemed hollow even to him. "You are ready for the world," Ren said quietly. "But are you ready for yourself?" Hiro's jaw tightened. The words struck deeper than any blade could. He had trained to defeat opponents, to conquer challenges, to earn respect, but he had never faced the silent, relentless opponent that lived inside him. Ren walked slowly around him, observing. A presence is cultivated, not demanded. Focus is not a switch you can flip. It is forged through patient, relentless attention. Watch your thoughts as they rise and fall. Do not grasp them. Do not push them away. See them as they are. Hiro tried. Every stray thought, every flicker of distraction, every surge of frustration became a mirror showing the chaos within. He realized, with a mixture of shame and awe, that his strength alone had never tamed this inner turbulence. Hours passed. Sweat dampened his brow, But still Hiro remained kneeling, breathing, observing. Slowly, the storm began to calm, not entirely, but enough for a flicker of clarity to shine through. He noticed the weight of his body, the rhythm of his breath, the subtle sway of the dojo lanterns. For the first time, he was not resisting the present. He was inhabiting it. Ren's voice broke the silence. "Oh, good. This is the first step. The restless blade does not strike with speed or force, but with awareness. Every movement born of attention carries more power than one born of impulse. Zanshin is not just a skill. It is the warrior's life lived fully without distraction, without ego, without regret." Hiro exhaled, feeling exhaustion and exhilaration in equal measure. He understood dimly but profoundly that the path ahead would be long and difficult. He could not rely on his raw skill alone. He must confront his restlessness, train his mind, and cultivate a presence that would make his sword an extension of himself rather than a tool of blind reaction. And stepped back, allowing the morning light to wash over the courtyard. "And tomorrow you will begin again, and the day after, until your spirit learns to move as one with your mind, until your focus becomes unshakable." Hiro bowed, chest heavy but resolved. The dojo was no longer merely a place to train his body. It was a forge for his spirit, and he was ready to endure the fire. He rose, his steps quieter, measured, mindful. For the first time, the storm within him did not scream. It whispered. And he listened. The courtyard greeted Hiro the next morning with a deceptive serenity. The first rays of sunlight struck the wooden beams, casting long, narrow shadows that shifted slowly as the day awakened. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of cedar and damp earth. Yet Hiro's mind still buzzed with the remnants of yesterday's frustration. His body ached, his muscles tight, but the storm of impatience inside him had only quieted, never disappeared. Master Ren appeared at the threshold, his robe flowing with a calm certainty, as if the mountain itself moved through him. Without a word, he gestured for Hiro to follow through. Today's lessons would not be measured in strikes, blocks, or drills, but in stillness, patience, and observation. A silence, Ren said as they entered the main courtyard, was more than the absence of sound. It is the presence of the mind. To master focus, you must first hear what you have been ignoring. Cyril frowned, brushing away the chill of dawn. A silence. I have trained with swords, not stillness. How does this help me? How does this help me? Ren's gaze was unwavering. Your sword is only as sharp as your mind. A restless mind makes a restless warrior. Observe, endure, and learn. You will see. He handed Hiro a broom. Hiro stared at it, confusion and indignation rising simultaneously. You broom, master." "Yes. Sweep the courtyard. Not hastily, not carelessly, but fully. Each movement must be deliberate, mindful. Notice the dust, the pattern, the weight of the broom. Each sweep is a training in attention." Hiro's first strokes were stiff, impatient, each movement rushed and jerky. His body longed for the rhythm of combat, not monotonous repetition. Dust swirled around his boots, mocking him with its mundanity. Every fiber of his being resisted the task. Ren observed silently, his presence heavy but unobtrusive. "Do not disdain the ordinary," he said softly. "Even the simplest tasks reveal the mind's truth. Your impatience, your frustration, your need for recognition, they all surface here." Hours passed. Hiro's arms ached, his back burned. Yet as he continued, subtle changes emerged. His movements became smoother, the broom gliding across the wooden floor with quiet efficiency. He noticed the way sunlight caught the floating dust, how the shadows shifted, how the wind whispered through the cedars. Each sweep became a meditation in motion, an act of discipline itself. After a long interval, Ren led him to the observation platform, overlooking younger monks sparring quietly. Watch them. Do not judge, do not intervene. Observe the flow, the intention behind each motion. Learn without reacting. Let silence teach you. Hiro's first attempts were restless, his eyes darting, his mind racing with comparisons, judgments, and imagined failures. Every instinct demanded interference, correction, superiority. Yet Ren's gaze held him in place. A patience. Let your mind settle. Let your mind settle. Awareness grows not from action alone, but from restraint. Minutes became hours. Hiro felt his breathing deepen, his chest open. The incessant chatter in his head, the calculations, the complaints, the criticisms began to fade. He saw patterns in the sparring, subtle shifts in weight, fleeting intentions. He noticed details that had escaped him in years of conventional training. The courtyard, the monks, the very air itself seemed to breathe with a rhythm he could sense, but not yet name. Ren approached. Hiro nodded slowly. Yes, there's clarity, a calm. I can see more without acting. That is the power of silence, Ren said. A discipline is not a display for others. It is a quiet forging of the spirit. Every action grounded in presence strengthens not the body alone, but the mind and soul. Focus is cultivated through observation and restraint, not through haste and force. Hiro absorbed the lesson, feeling an unfamiliar humility settle within him. Ego that demanded recognition and immediate results had little power here. Patience, endurance, and quiet observation were the true tools of mastery. Ren gestured to the surrounding courtyard. Every sweep, every pause, every breath is an exercise in attention. When you carry this into battle, into life, your mind will no longer scatter. You will move with intention, not impulse. Strength without presence is hollow. Presence without strength is fragile. Hiro lowered the broom, sweat glistening on his brow. Yet his spirit felt lighter. He had discovered that focus is not a switch but a forge, heated slowly, hammered persistently, cooled intentionally. As the sun dipped toward the western peaks, Ren spoke one last instruction. Tomorrow we go deeper. You will confront distractions, your own impulses, and your unspoken fears. The path of the warrior is a path of silence, but silence alone is not enough. You must integrate it, embody it. Hiro bowed, chest tight with both exhaustion and anticipation. He understood that true mastery demanded more than skill or strength. It required the patience to endure the ordinary, the courage to witness oneself without flinching, and the discipline to cultivate awareness quietly, relentlessly. For the first time, Hiro felt a subtle, solid center within him, a calm strength that had not existed before. And as the courtyard fell into twilight, he realized that silence was not emptiness, but a mirror, reflecting both the chaos he carried and the potential of the warrior he could become. The morning sun filtered through the dojo's wooden slats, casting thin stripes of light across the floor. Hiro moved through the training hall with measured steps, his mind still carrying the calm he had cultivated in the discipline of silence. Yet beneath that fragile equilibrium, a shadow lingered, the persistent stirrings of ego, impatience, and comparison that no meditation or broom sweeping could entirely erase. Master Ren watched him silently from the doorway, the subtle curve of his lips betraying neither judgment nor surprise. "Today," Ren said, "you will confront what you avoid most, your own pride." Hiro frowned. "On my pride, Master?" Ren gestured toward the other students who were already gathered in small groups, demonstrating their skill with swords, staffs, and bows. "Observe. Observe. See how each moves, how each is praised or corrected. Do not intervene, simply watch." Hiro's gaze shifted, and immediately the old familiar feeling surfaced. Jealousy at the younger student who moved with elegance, frustration at the peer whose technique was praised more than his own. His breath quickened, his fingers twitched. The ego that he had worked to temper in silence stirred, louder and more insistent than the morning wind. Ren's voice cut through the tension. "Do you notice what is arising within you?" The hero turned toward him. I feel envy. I cannot hide it." "Good," Ren said softly. "The first step in mastery is to see the shadow, not pretend it does not exist. Ego is the veil between you and reality. It colors perception, distorts action, and leads even the skilled to failure." Hiro exhaled, feeling both shame and clarity. The young samurai had always believed that mastery was earned through display, recognition, and the sharpness of the blade alone. Yet here, the truth revealed itself. The mind that sought applause, validation, or superiority was itself the greatest obstacle. Ren, closer. Bushido teaches humility not as a form of submission, but as a foundation for unshakable skill. True honor respects the path, not the self. Only when you relinquish the need for recognition can your presence become complete. Hiro's stomach tight. The lesson was harder than any physical test he had endured. Watching others receive praise while he had labored in silence brought a deep, uncomfortable ache, a confrontation with the parts of himself he had long ignored. Ren guided him to a low platform overlooking the courtyard. "Now sit. Close your eyes. Let the envy arise fully. Name it. Do not push it away. Feel it. Observe how it moves through you, how it tightens your chest, sharpens your vision, and clouds your judgment." Hiro obeyed. He felt the tension coil in his shoulders, the heat rise to his face, the mind racing with comparisons. Yet he did not act, did not speak, did not flee. He simply breathed, naming each thought, each pang of arrogance, each spark of resentment. Slowly, awareness began to carve space between the emotion and himself. Ren's voice floated through the stillness. Ego demands control, recognition, and superiority. It whispers that mastery is external, that your value is tied to others' eyes. Yet the path does not bend to your desires. It exists independently. You must learn to respect it, not manipulate it. Hiro's chest ached with realization. For years, he had measured his worth by the applause of others, the victories won, the admiration earned. Now he glimpsed a deeper truth. Skill without humility is brittle, like steel tempered improperly. Strength born from pride is sharp, but dangerous to wield. Ren continued, "Your shadow is not your enemy, Hiro. It is your teacher. Only by confronting it can you act with clarity, honor, and wisdom. Each time jealousy arises, each time frustration spikes, let it pass through observation, not reaction. That is the path of Bushido applied to the mind." Hiro opened his eyes. The courtyard stretched before him, ordinary yet profound. Students trained, oblivious to the inner battle he had fought in stillness. And yet he felt a subtle shift. The ego still stirred, but it no longer dictated his response. Observation had become a shield. Awareness had become a blade sharper than steel. Ren placed a hand lightly on Hiro's shoulder. "Tomorrow we will apply this awareness to action. You will learn the Musashi method, where mind, body, and spirit move as one. Your ego will be tested in motion, and only through disciplined presence will mastery be revealed." Hiro exhaled, absorbing the weight of the lesson. Confronting the shadow of his own ego had been harder than any sparring match. He had glimpsed the fragility of skill dependent on pride and recognition. Yet, in that struggle, he felt the first glimmer of liberation, a space inside him where focus and humility could coexist, unshakable and complete. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Hiro walked to the edge of the training ground. He felt lighter, steadier, more attuned to the subtle currents of mind and spirit. The ego would return, always, but now he had seen its shape, named it, and begun to master it. The sun had barely risen, painting the dojo courtyard in soft gold, when Hiro stepped onto the training platform. The scent of cedar and morning dew filled the air, mingling with the faint metallic tang of the swords that lined the walls. Today, Master Ren would introduce him to the philosophies of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai whose mastery extended beyond the blade into mind, body, and spirit. Hiro felt a surge of anticipation. He had spent weeks taming restlessness, cultivating silence, and confronting the shadows of ego. Yet the thought of applying all that he had learned to action stirred a new unease. Could presence, patience, and humility translate into movement? Could the mind guide the body with such precision that the ego no longer dictated the strike? Rin stepped forward, holding two wooden swords. Musashi teaches that the warrior's path is not in speed or strength alone, he said. It is in alignment, in flow, in harmony, between thought and motion. Today, you will learn to act decisively, without hesitation, without distraction. Hiro nodded, gripping the staff in his hand. He had trained for years, but now he felt the weight of this new lesson, the expectation to integrate mind and body into one seamless motion. Ren began with a demonstration, moving slowly, deliberately, each strike flowing naturally into the next. "I noticed the rhythm," he said. "You see how each action arises from awareness, not reaction. A true warrior moves as the wind moves, unbound by fear or desire, yet precise in every strike." Hiro mirrored Ren's motions, awkward at first. His strikes were stiff, jerky, reactive. Each attempt felt like a battle between mind and body. Frustration threatened to overwhelm him, the echo of his restless past whispering that mastery was unattainable. Ren's voice remained steady. "Do not force it. Force is the enemy of flow. Let the body listen to the mind, and the mind trust the body. Presence guides the action, not the ego." Hours passed in patient repetition. Hiro began to feel a subtle harmony. Movements that had once required conscious effort now flowed naturally. The mind quieted, the breath steadied, and the body responded with precision. He struck, parried, and shifted with a new awareness, a rhythm that was not learned but discovered within himself. Ren introduced dual swords, a technique requiring balance, timing, and acute perception. Hiro's hands trembled at first, struggling to coordinate the simultaneous movements. Each strike threatened to disrupt the flow, yet the lesson was clear. Mastery lies in integration, not dominance. The dual swords became a metaphor for his own mind and spirit. Once in conflict, now learning to move as one. Observe your opponent, Ren instructed. Even in practice, the focus must remain complete. Predict, sense, and respond, not through thought, but through presence. Let the action arise naturally, as the river carves its path through the stone. Hiro faced a fellow student, imitating Ren's teachings. At first, he reacted impulsively, allowing ego and habit to dictate his movements. Yet with each repetition, he learned to observe the weight shifts, the timing, the intention behind each feint and strike. Slowly, the sword became an extension of his mind an extension of his awareness. By midday, Hiro could feel a profound shift. The restless energy that had once driven him, the ego that had demanded recognition, the impatience that had led to frustration, all had receded. In their place arose a calm decisiveness, an understanding that mastery is as much internal as external. Ren watched silently, then spoke. A Musashi's method is not about defeating others. It is about mastering oneself. Each movement, each breath, each decision must be informed by awareness, not desire. Speed without presence is recklessness. Strength without insight is fragile. A warrior is measured not by how quickly he strikes, but by how fully he inhabits each action. Hiro lowered his swords, sweat glistening on his brow. He felt exhaustion, but also exhilaration, a clarity of purpose that transcended the mere mechanics of combat. He understood at last that the body and mind could move in perfect harmony, guided by presence and humility rather than impulse or pride. Ren placed a hand on Hiro's shoulder. Tomorrow you will face your ultimate test. The unbroken mind awaits, where endurance, observation, and the integration of all you have learned will be pushed to the limit. Today, remember that action without awareness is empty. Awareness without action is powerless. The Musashi method is the bridge between thought and deed, between stillness and movement, between fear and mastery. Hiro exhaled, feeling a quiet strength settle in his chest. The path was far from over, but for the first time he knew the power of unifying mind, body, and spirit. His movements, once driven by restlessness and ego, now carried the clarity of intention, the calm of presence, and the quiet authority of a warrior who had begun to understand the true nature of mastery. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Hiro sheathed his swords. He walked to the edge of the platform, feeling the wind against his face, the weight of his lessons settling within him. The next chapter awaited, the trial of endurance and focus, the confrontation with every fear and impulse, the unbroken mind. The dojo lay quiet at dawn, bathed in the pale light of the rising sun. Hiro stood alone on the training platform, muscles taut and breath steady, yet his heart thrummed with anticipation. Today, Master Ren would lead him into the ultimate test, a trial designed not to challenge strength alone, but to stretch mind, body, and spirit to their absolute limits. This was the crucible of presence where all lessons learned, the discipline of silence, the shadow of ego, and the Musashi method, would converge. Ren approached, carrying a bundle of stones and a wooden staff. "Hiro," he said, his voice calm but unwavering, "the unbroken mind is forged in endurance. Your body, your mind, your ego, each will rise to oppose you. Every fear, every impulse, every distraction will appear as a test, and you must endure, observe, and act without surrendering to them." Hiro nodded, gripping the staff. His muscles ached from previous training, yet he welcomed the strain. He had come far, but he knew this trial would strip him bare, exposing both skill and weakness. The first task was physical endurance, lifting and carrying heavy stones across the courtyard in silence. Each step deliberate, each breath controlled. Sweat streamed down Hiro's face. His arms burned, his legs quaked, yet he persisted. Ren's gaze remained steady, observing, measuring not speed but precision and calm. Each repetition was a meditation in motion, a test of focus, an exercise in aligning body and mind. When Hiro finally set the stones down, Ren handed him 2 swords. And now, the mind will be tested. You will spar continuously with each student in the dojo, but your focus must remain unbroken. Do not react impulsively. Observe, predict, flow. Let presence guide your actions, not ego or fear. Hiro's first duels were chaotic. His old impulses returned, urging quick strikes, aggressive blocks, reactive movements. Every student seemed faster, every feint sharper. Frustration surged, his breath hitched, the shadow of ego whispered that he was failing. Ren's voice cut through the tumult. "Observe, Hiro. The ego desires victory over others. The mind seeks mastery over self. Which will you choose? Hiro paused mid-strike, feeling the tension in his shoulders, the tightness in his chest. He recalled the lessons of silence, the mirror of the ego, the Musashi method of flow and alignment. Slowly, he allowed his body to respond naturally, letting awareness guide each strike, each movement. He watched openings, felt intentions, moved decisively, not impulsively. With each exchange, his confidence grew, not from dominating others, but from mastering his own presence. By midday, Hiro faced his greatest internal trial. Ren instructed him to meditate atop the cliff overlooking the valley, a storm of wind and thunder rolling across the peaks. Hiro sat cross-legged, the elements testing both body and mind. Lightning flashed, rain soaked his robes, and the cold pierced his bones. Thoughts of failure, fear, and doubt surged like waves, yet he did not flee. He breathed, observed, and anchored himself in presence. Hours passed. Hiro's muscles trembled, his mind resisted, yet he endured. He noticed the subtleties, the rhythm of the wind, the pulse of the earth beneath him, the flow of his breath. Every distraction became a teacher. Every impulse a mirror reflecting the past chaos he had carried for years. Slowly, the storm outside mirrored the calm he cultivated within. Ren approached as the sun began to set, a quiet figure amidst the fading storm. "You have faced fear, fatigue, and the ego's temptations," he said, "and yet you remain unbroken. The mind that endures all without surrender becomes a mind that acts with clarity, decisiveness, and wisdom. Presence governs action. Ego no longer dictates the response. You have learned the essence of unshakable focus." Hiro rose, soaked and exhausted, yet a deep serenity settled over him. The chaos of the external world no longer stirred panic within. Strength and stillness, action and observation, discipline and flow, all had fused into a single, unyielding center. Ren placed a hand on his shoulder. "You will leave the dojo and return to the world beyond this mountain. But remember, Hiro, mastery is not measured by applause, victories, or recognition. It is carried quietly within, unshakable and present in every choice you make. The unbroken mind is yours to wield, wherever you walk." Hiro exhaled, feeling the weight of his transformation. The restless blade of yesterday, the ego-driven warrior, the impulsive fighter, all had been tempered, refined, and aligned. He had faced the storm of himself and emerged whole. As darkness settled over the valley, Hiro stood atop the cliff one last time, gazing at the world below. The wind had softened, the storm passed, and in its place rose a quiet certainty. He understood that true mastery is lived moment by moment, not declared or displayed. Presence, focus, humility, and strength were now inseparable facets of his being. He descended the cliff slowly, each step deliberate, each breath anchored. He was no longer chasing mastery, it was already within him. The unbroken mind had been forged, silent, relentless, and complete. The morning fog lay thin over the valley, drifting in soft silver wisps as Hiro stepped out of the dojo gates. The mountain behind him loomed silent, its ancient stones and cedar trees a witness to the trials that had reshaped him. For years, he had sought mastery in the clash of steel, the praise of peers, and the victories of combat. Now, after the discipline of silence, the confrontation with ego, the Musashi method, and the trial of the unbroken mind, he understood that mastery was neither loud nor visible. It was carried quietly, within the steadiness of presence. Master Ren followed, walking beside him in unhurried silence. His eyes, deep and knowing, observed not the path but the spirit of the one who walked it. "Hiro," he said finally, "the world you are about to enter values display over depth. Strength without awareness is admired. Bravery without discipline is celebrated. But the mastery we have cultivated here, it will go unnoticed." Hiro looked down the winding road that led through villages, forests, and rivers, a path alive with motion and noise. Merchants called out their wares, children laughed and ran, and distant voices argued over trifles. The world's chaos beckoned him to act, to react, to seek approval or fear. Yet he felt no pull toward it. Instead, a calm center guided his every step. "I understand, Master," Hiro said. "I do not seek recognition. I do not need applause. I only need presence." Ren nodded, a slight smile breaking the old man's stoic demeanor. "Good. This is the truest test. The mountain gave you challenge and clarity, but the world tests your integration. Will your focus endure when no one watches? Will your calm persist amidst distraction?" Hiro inhaled deeply, tasting the air that carried smoke, wood, and earth. Every sensation was vivid, yet none unsettled him. The lessons of Zanshin, the discipline of silence, the confrontation with ego, the Musashi method, and the unbroken mind had converged into a single principle. Mastery is internal, invisible to others, and unshakable in the face of circumstance. A young boy ran past him, tripping over a rock and tumbling to the ground. Instinctively, Hiro caught him, steadying his fall. The boy blinked up at him, fear mixed with surprise. "Thank you, sir," he said, scrambling to his feet. Hiro nodded, guiding him gently back to the path. No pride stirred in his chest, no need for recognition. He acted because presence demanded it, not because the world would reward it. A commotion arose nearby, a pair of villagers arguing over a lost shipment of rice. The argument escalated quickly, voices raised, hands gesturing violently. Hiro paused, observing. His mind noted patterns, tension, imbalance, rising aggression. He stepped between them, calmly lowering his hands. "Anger does not restore what is lost," he said quietly. A patience, awareness, and action guided by clarity will, the villagers froze, then slowly disengaged. No one praised him. No one noticed the subtle authority in his presence. Yet Hiro felt a quiet triumph, the victory of mastery that required no witness. Ren fell back slightly, allowing Hiro to walk ahead. "This is the essence," he said. "The world may never celebrate it." The most ruthless form of self-mastery is not trophies or accolades. It is choosing truth over ego, presence over impulse, responsibility over comfort. Hiro moved steadily down the road. Each step was deliberate, each breath mindful. He observed the swaying branches, the flowing river, the pattern of sunlight on the path. Nothing escaped his attention, yet nothing disturbed his peace. The restlessness of his youth, the arrogance of his ego, the impatience that had driven him for so long, they were all tempered now, held in balance by awareness and discipline. As the sun climbed higher, Hiro crossed into a village alive with chatter, commerce, and motion. Yet the chaos did not reach him. He walked among the crowds with a calm that radiated subtly, unforced, a quiet reflection of the strength he carried inside. And no swords were drawn. No enemies confronted him. The true battlefield had always been internal, and here he moved as one who had emerged victorious without a single clash. Master Ren's voice followed him softly. "Hiro, remember this. The warrior who conquers himself needs no enemy. Strength and skill are fleeting, but the mastery of mind and spirit endures. Walk the path silently, act decisively, live fully. The world may not see it, but you will know." Hiro exhaled, the wind brushing past his face like a gentle affirmation. He was no longer seeking mastery. Mastery had become a part of him, quiet, relentless, and unshakable. As he continued down the road, the mountain faded behind him, yet its lessons remained. Every step, every breath, every choice carried the weight of discipline, presence, humility. He had learned the codes of the samurai, not to be admired, but to forge an inner spirit that nothing could unsettle. The path stretched before him, uncertain yet clear. Hiro walked it fully, deliberately, and with awareness. He was no longer a restless blade, no longer driven by ego or impatience. He was a warrior who carried mastery silently, invisibly, but undeniably inside himself where it mattered most. Focus is not an act of will. It is the calm center forged through discipline, silence, humility, and presence, the unshakable spirit of a true warrior.